Welcome back. It is day 10. We have received our drive shafts back from Alberta Driveline. Drive shafts are ready to go. We've got our header wrap for the exhaust system front to rear. We have our fuel lines from America's Most Wanted. And they've also sent us our 4 updated map sensors. So the next thing we're going to start with is we're going to drop these drive shafts in, see if we can get clearance for this flange here. And then once the drive shafts are in and clearance is good, I'm not sure, we might pop this one back out to get some access, but we're going to start wrapping these headers, wrapping the exhaust system from the headers right back to the tailpipe. So we have the rear drive shaft in, and where this goes underneath is really close. I can't even get a finger between there. And then right here, we can just get a finger in here. So if we went any lower here, we'd be touching this cross member, which would give us a rattle. And if we leave that right there, that's going to touch the drive shaft, which is going to rattle. So what we're going to have to do is I'm going to have to go in from about this point here to about, let's go a little farther, call it this point here. And we're just gonna have to dimple that in a little bit. We'll heat it up with a torch, make it nice and smooth. It's gonna get wrapped with header wrap anyway. And this portion right here is already crushed in to include this, so it's not gonna make any effect on the exhaust output. This exhaust is so huge anyway that you'd never lose any power from a little bit of crushing here. So let's give that done. Alright, so the exhaust is clearance there. We've got a good half-inch to the drive shaft now that we've dimpled that in a little bit. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to wrap this thing right from the downpipes to the tailpipe with header wrap. All right, so we've got the headers wrapped, or sorry, not the headers, the exhaust wrapped from the manifolds back. I got to put this guy back on. We're wrapped all the way back to the Y pipe, wrapped to the muffler, and then on the driver's side, got our heat shield iron there, and then we're back up to the manifold. So everything is wrapped to the muffler. I only have about a half a roll left, so we're going to order a couple more rolls so that I can get this all the way back to the tailpipe. Next, we'll put the exhaust shield on, put the drive shaft on, put our front drive shaft on, and then we will get into this fuel system. Okay, that's on there. Let's get this drive shaft on. All right, let me grab a jack and we'll jack up the rear wheels so that I can actually get at the bottom 2 bolts there. All right, the rear end is supported by jack now, so we can rotate this. We can access these 2 other bolts. So I got the manual park release lever zip tied up. We're going to cut that zip tie. That'll lock it back in park so this drive shaft isn't spinning. So I can actually tighten these bolts. There we go. Transfer case is locked to the transmission. Yeah. Okay, and then we'll lift that. Rotate that back 180. And we can lock that again. And there we go. Drive shaft is in and tight, and it has clearance. Not much clearance, but it has some clearance. Grab you out of here, show you what we got. So, right under here, just enough clearance. So shouldn't have any issues with the exhaust hitting the drive shaft. So next, let's get these fuel lines on. So I lied. We're not going to do the fuel lines yet, because we do have our fuel lines here from America's Most Wanted. One longer, larger line that will get us most of the way up here. Obviously, not quite. We have these 3 shorter lines, presumably something like that, and we have an inline fuel filter. So I'm not exactly sure which line goes where. Just send a message off to Mike over at America's Most Wanted, who's been extremely helpful. Big shout out to those guys over there. Hopefully we'll hear back today. If not, he's real good at getting back to me. I'll know by first thing in the morning. So might as well do the front drive shaft and see if we can get the wiring over here for this fuel pump ready. All right, big thanks to Mike over at America's Most Wanted. Just got back to me on this fuel line. So we are going to route the fuel line through the factory location. We've actually got it already underneath this one. Give you a shake? Yeah, give me 2 seconds here. We're going to run this up this way, and then we're going to run the next one up to the line. And after that, we're going to run our electronics, and then we are going to change our map sensors out. And I am going to give Strag a hand for 2 seconds. So many thanks to Mike again, who is answering all of my ridiculous questions. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take all of these new manifold absolute pressure sensors that we have. And we are going to replace all 4 of the factory map sensors with these map sensors supplied by America's Most Wanted. So basically just going to go in the factory locations. 1, 2, and then there's 2 on the front. So let me grab some tools and we'll get this done. Map sensors are in. Got our all 4 new map sensors installed. 1 right there. 1 right there. We've got 1 right there and another one hidden in there. So all the new map sensors are installed. The wiring from the fuel pump is run all the way up to the front. This is going to have to be run into the body. We're going to have to take power for that from wherever it says in the instructions. I haven't got that far ahead yet. Fuel lines are run. All the heat shields are on. Basically, at this point, we are getting close to setting the body back down on this thing for the last time. Just a couple more things to sort out. Where exactly, I gotta go get the purge valve off of the 3.6 because I didn't realize that I needed it for this engine. We're gonna have to mount that on the back of the horseshoe bracket here. This is the connector for that. I'm wondering what that's for. Now I know. And then purge has to be run from there down to our line. And after that, we are pretty well ready to set the body down. Both drive shafts are in. Bolted on. At ride height, we get no issues. Not even close to touching the end of the slip yoke. I will verify that when we droop this thing out, we're not going to overextend them and pull them out of the slip yokes. But going to have the body on it to do that, because obviously the hoist is currently being used in this bay. Yeah. So our next step is probably going to be cleaning everything up and getting ready to drop this body down for the last time. Next thing we're going to do is we have this PCV hose that on a hellcat would go to something over here. In our case, it's going to come up here to the intake. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this shield, cut this off, and then we're going to extend this using a piece of regular hose so that we can get that into the spot that it needs. Next thing we're going to do, we got to get the EVAP purge solenoid set up and installed. This comes off of the other engine. And I believe this is going to mount. Yeah, if I can get that to come apart. Get my 90-degree pick. Go, that side came apart. There we go. There we go. And that guy is going to go right here. Connect to this connector right there. Not 100% sure where it runs to there, but I've got to get this down to here, which might be done with some of this. We need to get that into there, and I believe somewhere in our box of parts there will be a 90-degree fitting for the EVAP system, which I have to modify this line with a 90-degree fitting on the end as opposed to what it's got. If I can get this clip off of here, which wants to fight me. Okay, so I'm going to go find the fitting we have for this, which is going to adapt this over to here. So we've got our PCV hose mostly made up here. We've got our new fitting installed on our line. So what we want to do is install this kind of temporarily. I'm going to see what way that wants to be. Kind of there-ish. Take this off, and we're going to give it a little heat shrink here just to make sure this line stays permanently connected forever. It is forced on there, but just to be a little extra sure, this thing's not under a bunch of pressure or anything, so should have no problems. It's not going to blow off. Go, that's that. This is going to attach here. And this will go down here. We might have to warm this up and give it a little bit of a bend here to get it to tuck down a little tighter. Hard to say. Obviously, we don't want it down as low as it is right here, right next to the exhaust. We are waiting for that other bracket. Just going to lift the stuff up a bit. So just once we get that, we will put this on 100%. But just as a test right there, it seems to be exactly what we need. So I'll pull this back off. There we go. And feed this guy back on. There's a heat shield on this. But we like to keep any heat shields that were there on there so that everything is as factory as possible and doesn't have any issues. Factory put it on there for a reason. Engineers really aren't in the business of doing stuff for no reason. So yeah, that's about that. Where that'll go, I'm sure this will be rooted slightly nicer. It's going to be on top of the transmission. It's not anything that will be seen, but we still want it to be as clean as possible. So we have to bend this a little bit. That's what we will do. Just whatever we can to get this neat and tidy and out of the way of everything. So that is probably it for today. It's just about 5 o'clock. I'm going to edit this video, put it up tonight for you. At this point, we are waiting for a bracket from America's Most Wanted. Show you where that goes. Grab you off the tripod here. So there is a bracket that is going to go right in this area right here. So we've already got this one stick-on heat shield, and then we've got this heat shield and it's header wrapped, but they have come up with another metal bracket that comes in here and puts an air gap again between all of this, and that's what the fuel lines attach to on top, because obviously the fuel lines want to be nowhere near the exhaust if at all possible. The farther away the better. So that is what we're waiting for now. That is going to be sent out tomorrow morning from America's Most Wanted. So as soon as that gets here from, I believe it's Michigan, I want to say. Once that's here, that's about the last thing that I need before I can actually set this body back down. So we're kind of again at a standstill until that part shows up.